Welcome to Build Out Brief. This is Jim Kunkel, and I so appreciate your support of the Build Out live stream that broadcasts each Wednesday at noon Eastern Daylight Time. The live stream that you're watching right now will be starting in just 1 minute. Let me take this opportunity to talk about Build Out Brief. This content series is a result of viewers like you who overwhelmingly requested that I add a supplemental series to Build Out that centers on professional business topics, is more focused, and global on guests. If you're thinking about starting a live stream, then StreamYard is a platform for you. It's what I use to build you Build Out Brief. After the stream, see the comment or the description section for my special savings referral link. Now, when it comes to having a professional live stream and winning over viewers, you need to make sure that your graphics and supporting promotional items are the best. All of the creative content for Build Out and Build Out Brief are designed and produced with Canva. You should check out Canva. See the comment or description section for my special Canva referral link. Hey, Guillermo, welcome to Build Out Brief. How you doing this evening?
Hey, Jim. Thank you for having me here in this program and space that you have been arranged. It's a pleasure for me to be here tonight.
No, I appreciate having you. And if the roll back the clock way back in I think it was 2019, when I first started doing content for YouTube, you were the first recorded guest I have. And so now that I've moved into live streaming, unfortunately, you were not the first live stream guest I had. But the nice thing is for Build Out Brief, with me doing this in the evenings now here in the Eastern time zone, you're my first guest for the debut here at Build Out Brief. What time is it in Quito right now in Ecuador?
Right now we are at 6:30.
6:30, great.
Yeah.
Guillermo, before we get into our conversation about doing business in Ecuador, could you do a favor and do a little background about yourself? And if you could talk about your company, Setmix, and what you do, not only in Ecuador, but other countries in Latin America.
Okay, thank you, Jim. My pleasure. Well, yes, I'm a second generation in the area. I work here, and my job is related to construction with concrete specifically. My father and the family business began almost 35 years ago. My father had the vision to begin a business offering some services through some products specialized on concrete on every single stage of it. So we provide of admixtures and repair and reinforcement and protection products and services related to concrete durability. I have been doing this along my father for almost 25 years now. I started this very young, doing some mixes on the backyard of our home when we started this. And it is already a pleasure to be in front of the company, of the family business right now. I'm also involved with some organizations such as SSPC, now AMP, and ACI, American Concrete Institute, and ICRI also. For some time now. With SSPC, I have been involved for almost 12 years now. And with ICRI and ACI, around the same period of time. So it's been a long journey.
Excellent. And also, too, to let everyone know, the designation you have of PCS, that you are also a certified protective coating specialist as well, and that deals in the coatings industry.
Yeah, that's correct. It's an honor for me to have that badge. It has allowed me to expand my businesses, not only in Ecuador, but also we are doing some projects on Peru and try to open some ground on Panama and maybe Colombia too.
Oh, very good, very good. And so the discussion that Guillermo and I will have this evening, we're going to talk about some key considerations for starting a business in Ecuador, the advantages of doing business in Ecuador, And of course, the important thing is going to be business etiquette, things to consider when you do work in between. And I'm going to take us from a perspective of American and Ecuadorians working together and starting businesses and things like that. Before we would get into any discussion, let's say, regarding considerations for starting a business, let's talk about, it's going to involve a little bit with politics as well, because it's so key and important to our conversation this evening and changes that are happening in Ecuador right now. Currently we're still fighting through this global pandemic. It has been a devastating impact on many world economies. Also, when it comes to social interaction, business interactions, supply chain, transportation, there's such a huge impact that we're still reeling from regarding the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, recently, the Ecuadorian National Assembly approved a series of reforms to improve the process of starting businesses in Ecuador. And it's really a way to stimulate more of the local and then obviously the national economy, and making sure that there is investment coming into the country post COVID-19. So that's a very encouraging sign from your government. And also, too, in 2018, there was an agreement made with the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, to bring in, I'm going to read this here about, let's see here. Let's say on here. Here it is, over $10 billion. I apologize. And the other fact, too, to kind of start this conversation out, is Ecuador is the eighth, its economy is the eighth largest in Latin America, with a gross domestic product of over looks like 108 million US dollars, if I'm reading this correct. Let's talk a little bit about some of the reforms that happened, but more importantly, let's talk about the previous administration. And I know you've had many business issues related to the previous administration versus the current administration. So, feel free to talk about that, Guillermo.
Thanks, Jim. As you have pointed out, we could talk about a different Ecuador. There's a turning point back then in 2018, I might say. In 2018 is precisely when IMF was beginning to open possibilities for Ecuador and make this agreement. This agreement took the country to a better foresight of what we could do as a country. Investors could start to think of Ecuador as a possibility to take their investments over here. So the previous government that we have before Lenin Moreno was President Rafael Correa, and he established some ground rules, that some laws even, that were not business friendly. So a lot of investors were scared of bringing their money here to the country. For example, we still have, just recently, we are leaving behind a tax that was applied to every single dollar that was inside every bank account in Ecuador. And if you wanted to take that money out, you were going to be forced to pay a tax of around 5% for that amount of dollars that you would want to take out the country. So now, after that transition, and especially with our current elected president, that is Guillermo Lasso, taxes like that one, laws like that one that were not business friendly are beginning to be taken down and are beginning to be under some extent reviews, and there are some more modifications coming and some amendments that are going to help and promote businessmen to feel confident that their investments here in Ecuador are going to take some fruition.
Very good. And some of the reforms that were passed, simplification of the process to establish a company in Ecuador, digitalization of processes to establish business in the country, improved connectivity between business registers to kind of consolidate that, and then the reduction of procedures and tax requirements to form a company. And the other thing, too, for everyone who's watching to know that in Latin America, there are two countries that operate as a national currency with the U.S. dollar. Ecuador is one of the countries. You're the only country in South America. The other country in Latin America is Panama in Central America that operates also in the U.S. dollar. So, Guillermo, let's go ahead and let's talk about some key considerations for starting a business in Ecuador. And this is you'll be able to provide a lot of great insight on these characteristics. The first is, regarding the type of company. There are several key industries in Ecuador. Obviously, agricultural is one of them. What are some of the other key industries that businesses might look to establish in?
Sure. Right now, I might say I was talking about this just yesterday, and you have tourism. That's one of the bigger ones. You have along the agricultural industry, you have the flower export industry. That's one of the biggest too, in which Ecuador flower production is very well desired in places like Europe and also the America, US, in which we have a very well received product. Bananas, that's also one of the very well received products that we export from Ecuador. Shrimp is the next one. That one, for example, shrimp processing plants and industries is one of the clients that we at Setmix has to implement protection coatings for their practices, and it's very important also. And the next one is the oil industry, and especially considering that it's a well-known fact that Ecuador is an oil extraction country, and the last 12 years, we were too much dependent on the oil extraction factor, and it was practically the government the only resource for everyone in Ecuador. Now that the investment is hope that is going to be coming, we certainly hope that it's going to come in flooding here over Ecuador. We hope that also industries like the ones that I have already mentioned, and construction. Please don't forget about construction.
Yeah, construction. Another thing, too, is that Ecuador does have a very healthy service-based economy. A lot of support services and that do originate out of Ecuador. So, companies are relying on Ecuadorian service providers when it comes to customer support and other services and things like that. I think a lot of it is because of the proximity of Ecuador, and also too because of the interconnection with a lot of American businesses too between Ecuador and the United States. The next consideration that I want to cover is going to be regarding legal representation. You want to make sure too that if you have a partnership agreement between an Ecuadorian business and an American business, that the legal structure is properly set up and having legal representation. You've navigated through Ecuadorian business law. How difficult is it? Is it a little better now, or is it about the same as it's been over the last couple of years under the previous administration?
Yeah, well, it is better now, no doubt about it. And I could add to that it is the right time for Ecuador. It is the right time for investors to come here. Things have changed a lot since the last 2 years, 3 years ago. And especially, I must insist and recall about the presidency that we are going on right now. It is a big difference to have a government under Guillermo Loayza than any other perspective that we could have been under if the presidency could be on different hands. So on legal considerations, one of the things that I would like to recommend anyone that might be wanting to be doing business here in Ecuador is to contact local commerce and industry chambers. Every chamber of commerce and of industry that are established here in the country are more than willing now to help investors from other countries to get and know how the process is done here, legally involved on how to manage the workforce that is going to be required and all such things. So it's very important to keep that in mind, that those kind of chambers are going to be very helpful.
Yeah, and the other thing too, from my research, it seems like the tax structure on how things are taxed when it comes to business income, it seems for the most part to be pretty consistent, and there is representation when it comes to accountants and also tax lawyers and things like that. So there are some advantages, and then also too, there's considerations that have to be made of what type of relationship you want to have when it comes to the taxes that could be accrued doing business in Ecuador. I do believe some of the reforms that are coming or that have been approved by your National Assembly are going to make a lot more friendly business environment for international business to come in.
Yeah, that's what we are hoping for. All those new laws and amendments that are coming are designed to be more business friendly. Yeah.
Excellent. And then another consideration comes down to the labor, workforce, labor laws, and things like that. Here in the States, we're having challenges with finding people to work. Also, too, there's a lot of things, again, interrupting the chain supply, the supply chain, transportation, and things like that. What's the labor situation in Ecuador currently right now?
Well, it's interesting how things are different regardless where you are. Unemployment rates over here in Ecuador are very high right now. For example, if we speak about the rates in Quito, for example, and surrounding areas, we might be around 15 to 18% unemployment rates just in this area around Quito. And if we talked about Guayaquil and surrounding areas, you might be going around 8 to 10% of unemployment. So that means that we need to have more places to get jobs. So it is very important, and there are so much opportunities and a desperate need to have new places that are going to offer jobs to every kind of expertise in the area. For example, if you allow me to bring an example about
Sure.
inspector coatings, it is a very different situation if you talk about the inspector situation now compared to what was around 3 years ago. There are not that much job offering positions right now. So I think that is also an exposure on how much we need investment to come here.
Definitely. So let's go ahead and move on to the advantages of doing business in Ecuador. And the first advantage is that Ecuador does have a dynamic economy. You're not focused on just one particular industry. You have a little bit of diversification to that. The other thing is that Ecuador offers a very unique climate when it comes to agricultural products, and a lot of those are high demand. Earlier you were talking about obviously shrimp being a high exporter for Ecuador. And the flowers, it's actually roses, number one. A lot of roses come from Ecuador. And then the other aspect of everything too is when it comes to some of the other types of goods and services, and then also service support that's done. So definitely Ecuador offers a dynamic economy you do business with a lot of other countries, surrounding countries in South America. And, I know from, obviously being a friend of yours and knowing a little bit about your business is that you can be in high demand in other countries because of the skill set that you bring to your company, but also you bring to customers and clients. So can you speak a little bit about some of the dynamic aspects of Ecuador when it comes to business?
Yeah, let me try to. For example, it's also. Let me bring another example of what I was doing 2 years ago, precisely in Peru. We have a customer here in Ecuador. It's a multinational company, and we were doing some repairing and protection works for them, and they needed for us to do the same kind of things in Peru. So we began to develop and design the requirements for this project, and it was very exciting for us to think on bringing us there to begin to do business in Peru, and bringing not only our products, but as you have said, our expertise and our services over there. It began well, but it also, when the project got finally to the point to be started, the crises were already looming in the horizon. So at the end of 2019, around October, I was already in Cusco doing one of the projects, and suddenly some problems arose in Quito. I don't know if you knew about the very strong manifestations and political turmoil that was going on, especially in Quito as the capital of Ecuador.
The protest, they actually turned a little deadly there for a while.
Yeah, that's right. So I was kind of relieved back then that some doors began to open for us in Peru to start doing some business over there in case in Ecuador things were going to get for worse.
Mm-hmm.
But then the COVID crisis came in, and that only kind of accelerated the process of the crisis. So that crisis forced us here in Ecuador to adapt, to survive, and to be resilient to the crisis. And we managed. It has been a struggling process, but we managed and still do. And it is interesting now that the ball is in our court now, because Peru is in a very different position right now, because the political situation is not business friendly. And now there are some companies in Peru that are beginning to think on Ecuador to move their operations over here.
And that's a huge advantage, because earlier when we were talking about some of the reforms that were done, prior to that, for the most part, Ecuador was very welcoming to foreign investment, and that gives an advantage over a lot of other regions in South America and Latin America, where you're very open to that. You're looking for the collaboration of businesses and partnerships and working with other foreign companies. It only benefits, to your point, it benefits the labor market, but also to the national economy for it. Another huge advantage is the strategic location. Where Ecuador is located, got a lot of coast. So for ports and other things like that, the availability of getting into the country, goods and services, also exporting goods and services out of the country as well. Tourism is huge with the Galapagos. But also too, when I had my opportunity to go to Ecuador, to see that you can do, as a tourist, you can do all types of things. You can look into historic structures. You have volcanoes, you have mountains, you have, rainforest. So Ecuador has so much to offer when it comes to tourism, but also when it comes to natural resources as well. The other thing too that's an advantage for Ecuador is the state-of-the-art infrastructure. Quito being the capital, and even the other cities and towns in Ecuador, great advantage because the infrastructure is built very well, maintained for the most part very well. In fact, a lot of retirees from the United States do relocate in Ecuador. And, I know a few that do live in Ecuador retirement, and they absolutely love it. They absolutely love it. No issues, no challenges for them. And they enjoy the local towns they live in. And then also, too, the atmosphere, the climate's good for them and everything like that, too. Can you talk a little bit about what do you think is needed when it comes to anything associated to infrastructure? Is there anything that might be lacking or might need to be improved in Ecuador?
Well, please let me begin mentioning about weather conditions and climate factors
Mm-hmm.
over here, because those are also related on the needed infrastructure. It is true. It is true that it is kind of easy to start a business here because you don't have to invest that much on a special infrastructure, because we don't have 4 seasons. We only have, you might say, 2 seasons. We have winter and summer, and that's it. But honestly, not even that, because when we have summer season, we are in a kind of combined days of having very not very rainy days, but we have sunny mornings and rainy afternoons, but manageable. And the same thing around when we are in winter. So that makes a lot more easier to consider what you might be needing to begin building, establishing your infrastructure on what you're going to need, regardless it is tourism, agriculture, construction, or whatever business you are planning to bring here in Ecuador.
Excellent, excellent. And I'm going to go ahead and move on to our last topic, which is dealing with business etiquette. And the first one, which I remember, experiencing myself, business lunches tend to be a little longer, so you need to plan accordingly. Business is definitely talked over lunch, but it could turn where you think you're going to have an hour, it could turn into a 2-hour session.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and that's gonna vary and change depending on which region you're here in Ecuador, because you're gonna need to be ready to learn the differences about kind of like that you have mentioned. If you are in a coastal city or in a hilly mountain city, for example, especially when you're in a coastal city, you're going to get ready to have your dinner meetings extended to 3-4 hours. that's a fact.
Yeah, I remember having I think we had one meeting, a lunch meeting that went at like a little over 2 hours. So
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
it was good times.
I
And then,
missed those ones.
yes, definitely, definitely. And then the last thing I'll leave when it comes to the etiquette in Ecuador is going to be language. It's obviously very important to know not only if you are an English speaker, know conversational Spanish to be able to also communicate in either language. My experience has been, for the most part, I've gone into meetings where I've had individuals thank me and say, "We're going to talk in English. We appreciate having you here. We're going to go ahead and practice our English and do the meeting in English." So for me, it's always been a blessing, but it's also great to have good friends like you and others in Ecuador to help you navigate when there's going to be a language challenge, especially if you're not proficient in Spanish.
Yeah, yeah. That's right. My most recent experience has been showing me that we are very friendly here in Ecuador in every aspect, and add to that that indeed we have a lot of people that have that easygoing or understanding English speaking foreigners, and if not, even trying to do their best to make them feel comfortable and to help them. So, especially when you compare this situation with our brothers from Peru and Colombia, I have been testifying that here in Ecuador is more easily going to speak in English, and or at least try to understand anybody that is speaking in English. And if you try to speak in Spanish, we are very patient to try to understand everyone.
Definitely, I agree with that. I had to take advantage of that a couple of times myself. Guillermo, before we close off tonight's stream, I wanted to give a preview for Thursday evening. My guest is going to be Juan Caballero, and we're going to continue the theme of doing business in Panama. And Juan's going to be talking about not only his business in Panama, but also to the advantages of doing business between American companies and Panamanian companies. Guillermo, we covered a lot. Is there anything that we didn't talk about that you would want to leave with the viewers? Any last thoughts?
Well, I might only add that I am happy to know that my country is once again a place to receive people from outside. It has finally come the time that we are happy to be waiting everyone with our arms wide open. That's what I might be wanting to add to this evening.
That's a perfect way to end this stream. Guillermo, my friend, thank you so much for coming on with me. I really appreciate it. And if anyone is looking to get in contact with you, what's the best way to reach you? Through LinkedIn or email address or website?
Yeah, thank you. We could be found around the major social networks that are around. We are on Facebook. We're also on LinkedIn. We have our website is www.setmix.com. Setmix is our brand, and if you look for it, you're going to find us in social networks.
Excellent. I encourage everyone to connect with Guillermo here on LinkedIn, and also to check out the setmix.com website. Guillermo, thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim, for letting me be part of this program.
Excellent. We'll talk to you soon and have a good evening.
Thank you. Same for you all. Thanks, Jim.